Real news, real honest opinion.
Send me away.
Come sign up for Fox Nation.
That song takes you back to college, doesn't it?
Yeah, takes me back.
And don't forget to take yourself to the radio. Brian Kilmeade Show starts in 5 minutes.
And please get dressed. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Morning, everybody. Fox News alert now after weekends of meetings. Still no deal on the border wall. The White House putting something on the table, only to have Democrats deny that suggestion. As we say, good morning. Hope you had an awesome weekend. I'm Bill Hemmer, live in New York City. And you as well, my dear. Nice to see you.
And nice to be back here this morning. I'm Sandra Smith. The president framing a possible compromise, but congressional Democrats are not budging. Talks expected to resume this week as the president considers whether to declare a national emergency to get the wall built, while both parties play the blame game.
We'll build a steel barrier. They don't like concrete, so we'll give them steel. Steel is fine. Steel is actually more expensive than concrete, but it'll look beautiful and it's very strong.
The president really does believe that you could solve this in 10 minutes. We're asking for $5.6 billion. They're offering us zero. The Democrats, for better or for worse, think that they are winning this battle politically.
The president is prepared to do what it takes to protect our borders, to protect the people of this country.
We need to open up government and then negotiate, not the other way around, because we're prepared to negotiate.
The president seems unaware of this, but we've actually already built a wall across much of the border. And all border security experts that I talk to say where a wall makes sense, it's already been built.
Our purpose in the meeting at the White House was to open up government. The impression you get from the president that he would like to not only close government, build a wall, but also abolish Congress. So the only voice that mattered was his own.
Kevin Corke is live at the White House this morning. Kevin, good morning to you.
Sandra, happy Monday. Good morning. Great to be with you. The White House floating a number of ideas, as you see, all in this effort to not only enhance border security, but to protect our sovereignty as a nation. I want to share part of a letter sent to the House Appropriations Committee. Again, part of this long process to try to figure out a way to end the shutdown. This is from Acting OMB Director Richard Vaught, Russell Vaught, that is. He lays out the administration's priorities, again, in order to reopen the government. Now, I want to share just a few pullouts. $5.7 billion for, you heard it all weekend long, a steel barrier. You don't like concrete? Fine, we'll go with steel. Also, more Border Patrol agents. They want to add to ICE personnel, and they want more detention beds and technology.
We have criminals coming in. We have human traffickers coming in. We have drugs pouring in. We have things happening that you don't want to even know about. And it's been that way for decades, and we can't have it anymore.
Can't have it anymore, says the president, who spent part of his weekend over at Camp David. A 2019 agenda strategy session, Sandra, in which the wall and the shutdown, as you can well imagine, drew top billing, and that will continue to be the focus here again today.
And Kevin, what's the latest on the outreach to congressional Democrats?
Yeah, you saw, obviously, over the weekend, the Vice President, Mike Pence, was very busy, not just meeting with congressional staffers from the offices of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, but also making a broad overture to Democrats in general. They want this to get done somehow, some way. They want to make sure that as the interest continues in this storyline of whether or not we're going to get funding for the wall, can we reopen the government, they want to do all they can to figure it out together. By the way, there are Democrats on Capitol Hill that say, listen, this idea of maybe declaring a national emergency, well, it simply won't work. Here's Adam Schiff.
Look, if Harry Truman couldn't nationalize the steel industry during wartime, this president doesn't have the power to declare an emergency and build a multi-billion-dollar wall on the border. So that's a non-starter.
A non-starter, as you see, 17 days in, Sandra, no end in sight. We'll keep you posted on the outreach again today. As I learn more, I promise to pass it along to you. But for now, back to you.
We depend on you for that. Kevin Corke, thank you.
Let's go ahead and read between the lines right now. Byron York, chief political correspondent, Washington Examiner, Fox News contributor. Byron, how you doing on a Monday? Good day to you.
Good morning, Bill.
Give them steel, Byron. So a whole lot of meetings. How much movement?
Nothing. It appears that absolutely nothing is going on. Now, there is movement on one side, which is the White House side, in which the president has given up completely on the idea of a concrete wall, which, truth be told, is something that the security experts thought was a bad idea from the get-go. And the president is also saying, well, we'll put in money for other stuff. We'll put in money for additional detention beds, for technology, for other things at the border. But Democrats right now, at least the Democratic leadership, are basically stuck in a no-go position. And the question will be, is there going to be some split among those Democrats between Nancy Pelosi, who says that a wall is not only bad policy, but that it is immoral, and other Democrats who maybe don't go that far?
Okay, now there's been a lot of meetings, as you know. Mike Pence heading up a lot of that. Some of these meetings went out to Camp David. I'm not quite sure why you had to go to Camp David, but perhaps there was progress there. But what you're suggesting and what we're hearing is that we're not moving forward on this. If you're in day 19 right now, you got a State of the Union address coming up in about 2.5 weeks. Do you see a way out of this, Byron?
Well, you also have additional signs coming that this really is a partial government shutdown, but it does affect a number of people. And we will have, if it goes further and further, there could be federal paychecks that are missed. You will have a more human cost. Again, it affects about 25% of the government, 75% of the government not affected, but still that 25% is a lot of people. So we're going to see what effects that might have on these continuing negotiations.
I'm trying to figure out how both sides can find a way to declare victory. And really, I think that's that's something that really is a mystery right now. Topic number 2, the acting secretaries, acting cabinet members. The president talked about that at the weekend, too.
But I sort of like acting. Gives me more flexibility. Do you understand that? I like acting. So we have a few that are acting. We have a great, great cabinet.
So the acting members continue. You got a problem with that?
Well, the president's kind of making a virtue of necessity there. The one acting that caused a lot of concern and a lot of criticism was the acting Attorney General, Matthew Whitaker. His replacement, permanent replacement, has been nominated, Bill Barr, who's a former Attorney General, and he's going to get a confirmation hearing with the Senate Judiciary Committee next week. So that is really underway. As far as the others are concerned, like an acting Interior Secretary, the president clearly doesn't feel any great need to address that quickly. And by the way, the Chief of Staff, which is simply a presidential appointment, Mick Mulvaney, is also acting right now. So the president apparently does kind of like this acting thing.
Well, when you consider the amount of transition, too, take it slow.
A lot of turnover.
Figure out who you like and go with it. Thank you, Byron. Nice to see you on a Monday.
Thank you, Bill.
Hope you had an awesome weekend. We'll see you later in the week. Thank you, Byron.
Trading will be underway just less than 30 minutes from now. Futures pointing toward a higher open as a new round of trade talks begins today between the U.S. and China, aimed at ending the trade war between the world's 2 largest economies. Edward Lawrence has more live from the White House on this. Edward, this is a first face-to-face meeting between the U.S. and China since the 2 presidents met at the G20. So what has changed? What's different now? And has any progress been made?
Yeah, the biggest difference, Sandra, is the change in tone from the Chinese. This meeting happening today and tomorrow in China. A spokesman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry now saying that China and the U.S. remain on equal footing to come to an agreement that could be a signal that China would like to have a deal and stop the issues that they're having with their economy. Their economy is slowing down. In fact, manufacturing was contracting in China, as well as their markets were seeing a slide. We just saw a blockbuster jobs report, as you know, low inflation, low unemployment, and wages are rising here in the U.S. The foundation of our economy is strong. China's seeing manufacturing with companies possibly moving their manufacturing out of China long term. They want to stop that damage. And you see, they also see that the president is very serious about what he says and going forward to try and make a deal. Sandra?
And President Trump paused the increase in tariffs on $200 billion of Chinese imports, as we know, from 10 to 25% to let these play out. So any indication that there will be an agreement before the planned date, March 1st?
It's interesting. The Chinese do seem to be serious this time around. They had some high-level folks enter into that meeting that happened there. Now, they also announced a series of reforms. They haven't acted on it, but they've announced it, that stealing companies' intellectual property would be illegal going forward. A number of government agencies signed on to that. Again, China is buying more soybeans. They're rolling back tariffs on automobiles, or the additional tariffs, that is. It's back to the original 15%, which is still high. But the U.S. would like to see punishments written down in these agreements there. They want to make sure that China follows through on their word. In fact, senators in the U.S. are watching closely that the U.S. makes sure that we trust and verify. Listen.
I'm hoping it'll work out. It should be fair trade. It should be fair to all of us. And I think that's the message the president has put out. And I think he'll bring the Chinese to the negotiating table. It can't be a one-way street just for China.
And that Senator Richard Shelby is on the Appropriations Committee, the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, watching very closely. Now, Chinese officials this morning are saying that if things go well in these talks, they are looking forward to talks next week with U.S. Trade Representative, possibly here in Washington, D.C. So, again, progress being made going forward. The Chinese trying to avoid the latest round of tariff increases by the president. Back to you, Sandra.
The market's looking up in hopes of that being the case. Edward Lawrence, thank you.
So more on this in the border battle. Our headliner today, White House Senior Communications Advisor Mercedes Schlapp will be our guest live in the 10 a.m. Eastern Time hour. Looking forward to talking to her. My list is this long, Smith. If you can, like.
Can you read that?
Yeah, I can actually. Yeah, should have been a doctor.
All right, we look forward to talking to her. That'll come up shortly. Meanwhile, breaking news on the plan to pull U.S. troops from Syria.
But these are countries that hate ISIS, and they can do a little of the fighting in their neighborhood also. We're pulling out of Syria, but we're doing it, and we won't be finally pulled out until ISIS is gone.
What the administration wants to accomplish before troops come home.
Also, it has been nearly 20 years since the terror attack on the USS Cole killed 17 U.S. sailors. Now, justice for the victims, finally. Plus this.
You know, we'll be cornering the market on charisma-free. What do you think? Mitch McConnell next? That could be good, couldn't it?
Well, it's Christian Bale taking the only shots at politics during last night's Golden Globes Awards. What he said about the man he just won an award for playing. Alert to Americans suspected of being ISIS fighters captured in eastern Syria. They were identified as Warren Christopher Clark from Houston and Zaid Abed Al-Hamid, with no location in the U.S. reported for him. Kurdish forces capturing the pair in a group that also included suspected fighters from Ireland and Pakistan.
We are pulling back in Syria. We're going to be removing our troops. I never said we're doing it that quickly, but we're decimating ISIS. When I was elected president 2 years ago, ISIS was all over Syria and all over Iraq. We've wiped out ISIS.
There's the president over the weekend circling back on comments about withdrawing troops out of Syria. National Security Advisor John Bolton in the Middle East clarifying conditions for a withdrawal. Fox News foreign affairs analyst Waleed Faris joins me on this. Sir, how are you? And good morning to you. What did the words of John Bolton tell you about U.S. troops?
It tells me that the president made the first step, of course, to say that eventually we need to get out of Syria. There won't be bases in the future. It's not a long project. And of course, he wanted to see Turkey doing more against ISIS. But then, of course, the national security apparatus of the U.S. studied the situation and found out that although this is the goal, we need to put some conditions. First condition, absolutely, is to terminate ISIS once and for all, which means fighting against ISIS. Second, securing the Kurds, meaning we have to talk with the Turks and telling them the price for you to intervene against ISIS is not to dismantle or to destroy the Kurdish force.
We have some allies still fighting in Syria. You don't want to leave them behind unless they are fully protected, and that's part of what the Balancing Act is all about. Mac Thornberry on that over the weekend.
We have been very successful in beating back ISIS, and I think the president deserves a lot of credit for that success because he took the shackles off of our military, and they've done a lot of good work. But that job will not be finished forever. We have to at least have some presence to keep the pressure on.
I don't think you disagree with that, Waleed. What does that look like, do you believe?
I would not disagree with the fact that strategically the U.S. should be present in the region, ready to intervene anytime ISIS would emerge either in this part of Syria or other parts of the Middle East or in Yemen and any other places. But the real guarantee, the absolute real guarantee, is when we defeat ISIS to make sure that the forces that are going to be taken over from ISIS are friendly and our allies, and we have relationship with them. The biggest mistake, for example, in Iraq, was that we withdrew in 2011 without making sure that Iran and Iran's militia are not going to be taken over from us. And we should not repeat that mistake in Syria.
At the same time, you got a commander-in-chief who says we're not going to fight these wars forever. So how you wind this down is it's a peculiar thing, and it can be. In the meantime, there was a significant story from over the weekend. The mastermind behind the USS Cole from October of 2000 had been found and killed. Here's the tweet from the president. He said, "Our great military has delivered justice for the heroes lost and wounded in the cowardly act on the USS Cole. We have just killed the leader of that attack, Jamal al-Badawi. Our work against al-Qaeda continues. We will never stop in our fight against radical Islamic terrorism." I think the lesson in this, Waleed, I don't think you disagree with this point either, is that the U.S. military is not going to stop until they find you. And you have to remember that the impact of this attack that was overshadowed by a national election on behalf of George Bush and Al Gore. It was a precursor to 9/11. And as we look back in hindsight, it's clear to us now that at long last victory in that struggle.
Bill, you're absolutely right. Our intelligence community, our military, our other agencies basically ensure that despite our political divide here, despite our political changes, I mean, 3 administrations have passed since then, they are dead focused on finding those who are responsible for these killings and take them out. And this is an example.
Okay. Waleed, thank you so much. It's nice to see you. Good to have you back on our program today. Waleed Fair is there.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Senator Elizabeth Warren taking battleground Iowa by storm, selling her 2020 pitch to voters.
I am not a person of color. I am not a citizen of a tribe. Tribal citizenship is very different from ancestry. Tribes and only tribes determine tribal citizenship, and I respect that difference.
Well, that was Warren trying to get ahead of the debate on her Cherokee heritage as she explores a presidential run. Our A-team will dig more into that.
Also, 13 people are now dead from the flu. How to keep your family safe over the winter? Dr. Mark Siegel has that advice next. Of duty. He was 29-year-old officer Joseph Shinners, shot Saturday night while trying to arrest a suspect outside of Salt Lake. He was rushed to the hospital where he died just before midnight. Shinners was a husband, a father of a young son, and a 3-year veteran of the Provo, Utah police force.
He understands sacrifice. He is the officer who you would want to show up at your door in your biggest crucible moment. He was honorable. He was hardworking. He was decent in every single way, and he exemplified the nobility of policing.
Well, Shinners managed to return fire after he was shot. The suspect, a 40-year-old man, was under police guard at a hospital, said to be in stable condition.
The flu has 13 children now dead from it, and hundreds have died. We're hearing 24 states now have reported cases. Let's bring in Dr. Mark Siegel, professor of medicine at NYU Langone and a Fox News contributor. Not a pleasant subject, but one we have to discuss because this is affecting people across the country now with hundreds of deaths. Dr. Siegel, how bad is it going to get?
And thousands of hospitalizations. Last year we saw 80,000 deaths that were related to the flu. I don't think we're going to see that this year, but this is another influenza A season, which is the worst of the 2 kinds of flu. And we're just starting to see it peak. So over the next month or 2 months is when you're going to see most of it. And as you reported, 24 states are widespread. Influenza-like activity is very heavy right now on the East Coast and across the southern United States, but it's going to end up being in every single state.
Now, a lot of people at home are probably thinking, I haven't gotten my flu shot yet, and this looks pretty scary. Is there still time where this will prevent this from happening to your family? Should you go get one now?
You absolutely should. Now, we only have about a 40 to 45% compliance rate for flu shots in the United States, which is awful. It's got to get up much higher. And you know why, Sandra? First of all, this year it looks like the strain of flu that's predominating is actually covered well by the shot. Also, even if you say, oh, I'm a young, healthy person, I don't need the flu shot, guess what? If you get the flu shot, you decrease the risk of spreading it to somebody who's old, who has chronic illness, who's very young, who's a pregnant woman. So anyone in the household can get it from you, much less likely to get it if you're covered with your flu shot. Everyone needs the flu shot.
How do you know when you have the flu versus, say, cold symptoms, for example?
And there's a huge difference. The number one thing is you're walking along, you're working, and then you say, you know, I got to lie down. I can't walk anymore. Suddenly fatigued, muscle aches, high fever. That's the flu. A little bit of a cough. With the cold, you're getting a lot of congestion. But it's really being hit with a ton of bricks. We used to call it the grip. That's the reason. You got to stay home from work, by the way. You're not going to want to work if you have the flu, but you really have to stay home so you don't spread it.
I can imagine with hundreds of deaths that there's thousands of reported cases. This must be affecting the hospital systems. Doctors must be seeing an influx of patients.
And it's huge right here in New York City right now. And the thing we really watch out for are secondary infections. That's what kills you, and that's what killed people in 1918. It's people that get pneumonia. It's people that have a heart condition and get a heart attack from the flu. The flu puts a tremendous stress on your system, and then you get another bacterial infection. Often doctors say, oh, I found it. It's the flu. Let me give Tamiflu. Let me treat the flu. And they miss a secondary infection like a pneumonia. So you have to look out for that as well.
Let me give you 2 reasons why I hear people don't go out and get their flu shot. One, it's hard for parents to bring their child in for another shot. They fear having to go through that process, the scream, and the kids obviously don't like it. 2, adults say they feel like they're injecting themselves with the actual influenza virus. Is there any truth to that?
First of all, there's truth to neither of those 2 things. I want to point out that the flu mist is back on the market this year.
Good to know.
Now, a new study out of pediatrics shows it's not as good as the shot. But if you have a child that's shot phobic, get them the mist, please, because that's one thing. And the other point you made, it's not the flu virus that's in the shot. It's actually just a protein. It's
Can
just
it make you
part
sick?
of it. Well, it can give you the sniffles, or it can give you some cold-like symptoms for 24 hours. It cannot give you the flu. You get a sore arm, or you get sniffly, or a few aches. You're not going to get the flu from the flu shot. That's an absolute myth.
And by the way, if you haven't gotten your flu shot, and if you go get one, say today, it takes 2 weeks from today for it to be effective.
And that's enough time, because again, we're just starting to see the season peak. So mid-January, end of January, we're going to be here talking about how it's a lot worse. If you had your flu shot by then, you're much less likely to go to the doctor or to end up in the hospital.
All good stuff. Dr. Siegel, thank you.
Very important to get that shot.
Right,
Good to see you.
Got some breaking news from the High Court, Washington, D.C. We're now learning Justice Ginsburg will miss oral arguments today. She continues to recuperate from a recent cancer surgery. This will be the first time in her 25-year history she has missed oral arguments. We'll update you on what we're learning about that in a moment. Plus, there is this. Give it a listen.
We're not going to give in to this radical left, ever, until we can find a rational way forward where we'll have wall as part of our border security plan. We're going nowhere.
Senator Lindsey Graham hunkering down on the border battle. And now the president's floating a compromise. Will Democrats budge? National Border Patrol Council President Brandon Judd is live on that in a moment as the president considers declaring a national emergency to get the wall built. Updates on that coming up. Plus this. Watch.
Two-thirds, three-quarters of us want to see kids get some relief from student loan debt, want to see Social Security readjusted so it's secure forever into the future, want to see affordable health care.
Senator Elizabeth Warren losing her voice, it sounds like, in Iowa yesterday, laying out what she thinks the majority of Americans want to see.
The presidential hopeful has rejected the socialist label, but socialism could become one of the most important trends to drive the 2020 presidential race. But do people really know what socialism is?
I don't know. We're going to send Steve outside. The deuce is on the loose to find out. Hey, Steve.
That's right. Thank you very much, Ainsley, because a poll a while back this past year showed that in the age group 18 to 29, you would fit that, a majority of them in that age group back socialism over capitalism. What's your name?
Morgan McGuire.
Hey, Morgan, why do you think so many young people like socialism more than capitalism?
Probably because their dads don't teach them about capitalism like mine does.
Really? What did your dad teach you?
That socialism is bad. And you don't need to share the wealth if you're not working.
Yeah, but don't you want free stuff?
No.
Really?
I like working for my stuff.
Well, you are a rare person. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, since so many people are talking about socialism, we thought we'd do a little quiz here. Excuse me, sir, what's your name?
James Torring.
Hey, James, I'm going to show you pictures of famous socialists. Who's that?
That I don't know.
Okay, that's Karl Marx. Who's that? You can get that one.
Cuba.
Cuba, that's
I
right.
know that.
Fidel Castro.
Fidel Castro.
Very good. All right. That guy?
I don't know that one either.
You don't know Bernie Sanders? Where have you been? All right, that guy?
Russia.
That's right, Mikhail Gorbachev.
Ocasio.
Okay. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That's right. Very good. All right. Somebody else. Yeah, what's your name?
Jackie.
Jackie. I got a question for you. Where you live?
I live in South Amboy, New Jersey.
Okay, I live in Jersey too.
Oh, good.
Jersey strong.
I watch you guys every morning.
Well, thank you very much. We're talking about socialism, and a majority of people between 18 and 25 or something like that.
That's
Let's
not
see,
me.
18 and 29 prefer socialism over capitalism. In a very famous socialistic country, Venezuela, how much do you think a roll of toilet paper is? Is it $3 a roll, $5.50 a roll, or $10.45 a roll?
I'm going to say $10.45.
Well, why would you say that?
Because taxes.
Well, you would be right.
Of course I'm right.
A single roll of toilet paper in Venezuela is $10.45.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's talk to this guy right here. What's your name?
Tim.
Hey, Tim. We're talking about why a majority of young people seem to prefer socialism over capitalism. What is socialism?
Socialism, to me, it's pretty much spreading out what everyone has.
I think that's about right. It's a society where all the factories, the offices are all owned by the society.
Right.
And then everything is shared.
Yes.
That's a beautiful idea, isn't it?
Not to me. Not to me, it's not. No.
Why not?
Because I want to hang on to what I earn. I want to keep what I earn and give it away as I feel necessary. So.
Okay, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the 60 Minutes show last night was talking about how if you're super wealthy, you're making $10 million a year, something like that, you should be taxed at 60-70%.
I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan of that at all.
Yeah, but, it's one of those progressive things where if you make a lot, you should share a lot.
Well, I think I should be in charge of what I share, and I think I share quite a bit. So,
all right,
yep.
Very good. Well, there you go, Ainsley and Brian. The folks here on the street in front of our world headquarters, number one, they're cold. But number two, we can't really find anybody who thinks that they prefer socialism over capitalism.
Steve, what about that little girl below you, right to your right? Do you think that she prefers socialism to capitalism?
Well, I'll ask. Do you know what socialism is?
No.
Do you know what social media is?
Oh, it's something on your phone?
That's right. She gets social media right. Give me 5.
She knows how to be social. Thank you so much, Steve. She's
Indeed.
cute.
All right.
You bet.
All right, so socialism here to stay. 23 minutes before the top of the hour. Hey, Jillian.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, Jillian.
Good morning. Good morning to you at home. Today, Kevin Spacey will face a judge over sexual assault charges. The actor is accused of inappropriately touching a teenage boy at a Nantucket bar in 2016. He's expected to plead not guilty. If convicted, Spacey could spend up to 5 years in prison and have to register as a sex offender. He's also faced other accusations of sexual assault. A Georgia family returns home from vacation to find this stranger living in their house. Nathaniel Knuckles allegedly changed the locks, moving belongings, and ate all the food. The homeowners say he even left them a note thanking them for letting him live there. He was arrested after an hours-long standoff with police. Follow me on this next story. It's a little confusing. A dog owner is accused of biting a jogger who pepper sprayed her pup. The jogger told police the dogs ran at her on a California trail, so she sprayed them thinking they would attack her. Officers say the dog's owner then started punching and biting the woman. She was arrested and could face up to 6 years in prison. 3 police officers go above and beyond to help a wheelchair-bound man. The Memphis cops called to help the man after he fell out of his electronic chair, leaving him stranded on the sidewalk. When they couldn't fix the broken wheel, they improvised. One of the officers pushed him a quarter mile safely to his destination. Great photo, great sentiment.
Nice.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Jillian.
Oh, come on in, Steve.
Come on over, Steve. Hi.
Right. Hello.
Good job out
I've
there.
been on the streets. Feel my hands.
Freezing.
Holy
Oh,
cow.
God.
Feel that, Brad.
Adam,
I wish I had it.
have someone feel
It's
your
freezing.
hands.
Adam, right now
how
the
cold
wind
are you?
chill is 17, right?
Yeah, it's really cold out. You should have just done the forecast when you're out here, Deuce. From Deuce on the Loose to Klotz and the Fox square. See what I did there? I have my own little mnemonic device also. But it is certainly on the cold side out here as we're looking at temperatures. Well, feels like 17, now down to feels like 15 degrees. That is going to mean some snow across the region here as we get more into the overnight hours and into tomorrow. This is the big system we're tracking across the Midwest. Plenty of areas where it's warm. So from Illinois to Indiana, those temperatures too warm, which means some storms for them later today. But as far as snowfall goes, that's going to be out in the leading edge of this system. You see it there on our future radar. This moisture runs into some cold air in the northeast. That means snow for upstate New York, running all the way up towards Boston and in places farther north. I actually think here in New York City, guys, it does stay just rain for us, but a bit of a raw day as we head into tomorrow, as I'll toss it back into you. But I do think we avoid the snow, at least right here locally. Guys?
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Adam.
Good news for us. Somebody's going to wind up with some.
Some more good news, too. We have some very exciting news to share with you next week on Thursday, January 17th. Fox and Friends will have a live studio audience.
Brian, do you like that picture because you didn't like the last one?
No, I found the other one was interesting.
Okay.
I found it.
Well, if you would like to be part of our live studio audience, email us at friendslive@foxnews.com. That's friendslive@foxnews.com. Terms and conditions apply and will be explained if we contact you.
Right. It's going to be exciting to get a chance to see people and see their reaction. Sometimes maybe we don't want their reaction. We have to go to Twitter or go to Twitter or email.
When don't we?
Well, we're going to find out. We have real reaction to real live stuff. They're not on delay. This audience will not be on delay, right?
That's right.
They're going to be live.
They'll get to see what Brian does during the commercials, like standing up and stretching.
That's true. I feel a little tight today, my hamstrings.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Senator Marsha Blackburn is already making history. Less than a week into her new job, she switched chambers. She will join us live next.
Plus, forget all the celebrities on the red carpet. This year's star making a splash, the Fiji water girl, the girl in the background. Carly Shipkiss has the biggest trends from the Golden Globes coming up.
A big message for Amazon and Google. The company plastering a 13-story tall message on a hotel reading, quote, "What happens on your iPhone stays on your iPhone." It looms over the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Amazon and Google have faced criticism over reports they've sold user data. Ainsley.
All right. Thank you, Jillian. The death of 22-year-old Pierce Corcoran, there's his picture, he lived in Knoxville, is reigniting the illegal immigration debate in the state of Tennessee.
Pierce was killed in a car wreck after police say Franco Francisco Eduardo swerved into oncoming traffic on a highway. The suspected illegal immigrant was charged with criminally negligent homicide and driving without a license or insurance, and then he was turned over to ICE.
Here with more is Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. Good morning to you. We are so sorry for the loss of that family, that terrible family. So sad. The dad is the fire chief in the town, and his son is no longer going to be with them.
It is devastating, and of course, we grieve and mourn with these families that have lost loved ones to illegal immigration. And every time I meet with an angel mom, my heart just breaks. And this is why every town's a border town and every state's a border state until we secure that southern border.
And of course, that's what's going on in Congress right now.
Right.
Senator, his mother, Wendy Corcoran, Pierce's mom, has a blog and posted this. "We are all aware as a family that nothing will bring Pierce back, but don't tell me my son, who lived in this country and followed its rules, doesn't deserve better. For God's sake, out of respect for the men and women who fought and fight to make this country such a desirable place to live, do the right thing and come here legally and become a responsible citizen." Of course, that has to do with the immigration question. Now in Capitol Hill, of course, you're trying to figure out what to do about the wall, right?
Well, precisely, and President Trump is so right in standing firm with millions of Americans who are saying, let's solve this issue. Leader McConnell is correct to say we're not going to take up something in the Senate unless it includes border wall funding. And Steve, here's a great example of why. Yesterday at church, a friend who does a lot of work with human trafficking victims said, Marsha, I don't get this. Why can't we secure the border and stop these traffickers and drug traffickers and gangs from coming in the country, because they come to our communities? And yes, the president is saying, let's work this through. He has offered legalization for dreamers. So if you're somebody who has a dreamer in your family, or if your church group, civic group is supporting a family that has a dreamer, there is a way for them to have legalization that is on the table and up for discussion. And the president is saying, and Leader McConnell is saying, let's solve this problem. And I tell you, I don't understand why Speaker Pelosi will not come to the table and negotiate and find a way to secure the border and to end the uncertainty around the dreamers.
There are a lot of people that are asking that very question.
Yes.
Congratulations. You and Senator Joni Ernst are the first 2 Republican women to serve on the Senate Judiciary Committee. What do you have on tap? What are some of your goals?
One of the things that we want to do is make certain that we continue to confirm constitutionalist judges to the federal bench, and make certain that we are going to represent the views of our constituents. I want to, I want to make certain that as we look at our judiciary, that we have individuals that are going to uphold the Constitution. I'm looking forward to being there and taking views of Tennesseans into my work every day in that committee.
All right. Senator Marsha Blackburn joined us today from Tennessee.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Comedy legend Carol Burnett reflecting on her legacy while accepting the first ever award actually named in her honor. Carly Shimkus with the buzz surrounding her powerful Golden Globe speech coming up next.
But first, let's check in with Bill Hammer for a preview of coming attractions.
She was great last night. Hey, guys, Brian ruined the end of The Star is Born. I mean, what is up with that? How does he just give that away like that?
Spoiler alert!
Come on. Thank you, guys. Good morning on a Monday, day 19. There is movement. We'll tell you on what. Brandon Judd has worked the border for 20 years. He's our guest this morning live on that as well. What Democrats are now ready to do on the Mueller matter, and another victory in the war on terror. Mercedes Schlapp is our headliner from the White House, so come join Sandra and me on a Monday morning.
I catch myself daydreaming about being young again and doing it all over. I realize how incredibly fortunate I was to be there at the right time. Because what we did then, it couldn't be done today. So here's to reruns and YouTube.
YouTube. She lives on.
Carol Burnett stealing the show during last night's Golden Globes.
Here with the reaction, lighten up social media, Fox News Headlines 24/7 reporter Carly Shimkus. And Carly, for people who are too young, don't know about Carol Burnett, she does live on forever in YouTube.
This was my favorite part of the whole award show.
What an ovation.
It was so sweet, and the compilation of all of her past achievements and moments from the Carol Burnett show probably taught a lot of kids about her career as well. This was also a really big talker on social media across the board. Everybody loved this moment. We have some emails and some tweets to get to. Jean says, one of the few celebrities that still has class. Another person on Facebook writes, I grew up watching Carol Burnett. Today's television can't begin to hold even an unlit candle to the quality of her show. And Marilyn on Facebook says, never vulgar, hateful, or full of herself, just plain hilarious, all-out comedy. And she ended her speech at the Golden Globes last night by tugging her ear, which I'm sure you remember she did at the end of the Carol Burnett show, which was a little message to her grandmother.
When I was 5 years old, I came home from kindergarten every day, and I sat in front of the TV, and I watched that show before I took a nap with a bowl of tomato soup and half of a sandwich.
That sounds like a great
peanut
childhood.
butter and banana sandwich. It was my routine every day.
That's
love
cute.
her.
I watched Chuck Connors and the Rifleman. That was very similar. There was something else, Golden Globes. There was a lot of pictures of stars on the runway, but there was more than that.
That's right. An unexpected person really stole the spotlight on social media. She's being called Fiji Water Girl. There she is on the red carpet right now. She's serving Fiji water to all the celebrities, but she appeared in the background of countless celebrity pictures. And she is really lighting up social media. Fiji Water even responded to the viral reaction saying, "We're so glad everyone is talking about this moment."
Fiji Water.
That's right. She says, oh, this is what it says. "We're so glad everyone is talking about our water. Senses ominous presence." She's right behind us, isn't she? Hashtag Fiji Water Girl.
What cracks me up about this, though, is there always a Fiji Water Girl? And this girl just decided to get in all the pictures.
She was so relatable. She's just like I would be, too. She's like, you know, every other girl. I knew that this was going to happen. Adam, stealing the spotlight once again.
How dare you?
I called him Fiji Water Boy, and he said, "I'm Fiji Water Man," actually.
Right. He gets
right.
very offended.
I think here in New York City, this is about, what, $25?
Yeah, that's right. 25 to 30.
It doesn't fit in any holster either in your car.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Carly.
Pool boy. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to step aside, savor this stuff. Right back in 2 minutes.